Halo, Minecraft, Clair Obscur. What extraordinary stories behind that. But through and through for myself as a composer, and I've spent so much time, especially in the last 5 years, listening to so much gaming music, what an extraordinary impact music has also made, not only in identifying the games, but the emotional attachment of nostalgia, let alone the wonderment of how it all came together. Wonderment, did I just use that word? Hang on, let me get rid of that M dash in my brain. You know if you know, ChatGPT or something. To me, the wonder of this whole thing that is so insanely cool is that the backstories of each one of those games. Now remember, I'm not a professional, I'm not a video game journalist, nothing. I'm just this guy that just got whirlwinded into this environment, and I'm loving the journey. But from my own personal experience, the backstories of how each one of those games got started, let alone the music representation. Yeah? So, I mean, the Bungie Marty O'Donnell story with his partner, from the embryonic beginnings and how that came together and the growth through in the game and that, and the iconic music within the iconic gaming physics, if you would. The story of C418, I believe that's, if I remember well, and the journey with Minecraft, starting at very embryonic beginning in an era where a Minecraft game was like, how does it, what, and then all of a sudden it blows up to be what it does, and also the music in that, so impactful, all the way to Clair Obscur. And Clair Obscur and the music and the impact of that, once again, they kind of have a through line. The through line is, as far as I understand, I'm sure I'll probably get, you know, smoked in the comments somewhere from somebody, but anytime I do a video like this, I do expect that I'm gonna get schooled as well, because I'm only shooting off from up here, is that each one of the stories of those games are coming from people to say, well, let's do this. Let's come together and try this, through and through to the music. So for the rest of this, I want to talk about the music. The music of Halo was extremely and profoundly unique in its composition, obviously, and it's married to an unbelievable monumental moment in gaming physics, right? The Halo game. And then, you know, the composers went on and continued through a few more games until it kind of self-obliterated itself to a certain point. And the same thing with Minecraft. Oh my gosh, the composer, C418, a completely different type of composition. Less is more ethereal, ambient, thoughtful, you know, kind of music. Not a lot of stuff going on. Very beautifully composed by somebody who wasn't necessarily a composer in the sense of this is my profession, as much as it is as somebody who contributed in the capacity of the video game development. And then the composer for Clair Obscur. What an absolutely great story. I haven't played the game yet. I'm a little shy right now because I'm not really too fond of, what do you call it, turn-based battles and stuff like that. It's too much thinking for me to go on a turn, but I'm sure I'll get to it. But I have listened through the whole 8 hours. And the story of that composer putting himself out on SoundCloud and then maybe sending his SoundCloud links to devs and stuff like that is such an incredibly powerful story in today's day and age when composers are seemingly kind of giving up because of the saturation and why should I put out my music and why should I continue to do this? It's because you never know. You never know. And that's the most important takeaway for me with the experience with the how the composer got the gig. But through and through, there's no two ways about it. Each one of these video games, Halo, Minecraft, Clair Obscur, three completely different composing styles. However, whatever of those three that you've played, if not all three, from now on, those soundtracks are going to be embedded in your soundtrack of life, nostalgic. Even for myself, I went back to some of my old Minecraft stuff that I started a couple of years ago, and I built this really super cool kind of like underwater recording studio, you know, as a noob. You know, of course I put it on passive. I wasn't going to do all the extra work. But now when I go back and see my old towns, if you would, and listen to some of the old music, I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I go visit some of my old builds, you know, in different biomes and stuff like that, I almost kind of teleport into the moments when I did that. Where was I in my life? Where was my life going? What was happening during my life? I kind of liken it, for being an old fart, I kind of liken it to me going back into the 1960s and 1970s and driving by the old house I used to live in. And if anybody's ever done that, you know, that could be very or, you know, depending on what your experience is. But anyhow, just to circle back and close with this and my experience, I feel so profoundly stoked that my life, listening to music as a composer and stuff, had the opportunity to experience music from other composers with the gaming media that is now very impactful and will be nostalgically. Even for you folks, let's say you're playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 for the first time, you love it. 15, 20, 30 years from now, I don't think I'll be here, but you know, you'll listen back to that and go, wow, I remember where the world was at, what was going on and stuff. I'm just an old guy that just loves to kind of, you know, illuminate, if you would, in the beauty of what music represents through all sorts of media, and the fact that, you know, these three completely uniquely different composers with their contributions with the game has made such significant impacts on our soundtracks of life. Anyhow, what are your thoughts? Share with me a little bit, maybe, of your nostalgic impact of what maybe any of those games or any other game. Because remember, that's just my experience, right? There are thousands of games out there by thousands of different composers, or hundreds of games, 100 composers, that too have made that impact. I was only sharing with you what my, you know, exposure was, you know, hands-on. So anyhow, have a wonderful day. And remember, always count the wins. They stack up. And then finally, if you're still here, type in, I'm still here. All right, you guys take care.